Hello, my name is Luke Hess from Detroit, and I'm here in Culture Dox, Copenhagen. I got into electronic music, I think in around 1995, towards the end of 1995. My cousin Dennis, I'll say his name, he took me to my first warehouse party, and back then the only way that I knew that you could really find out about parties was through friends or through people who have been to those parties, and they'll get some kind of small flyer or card or something from a party they went to the weekend before from somebody else that they knew, and it was just kind of very word of mouth and things like that. I'm sure there were some you know, larger events and things like that, but the ones that I was introduced to was very close niche, very small community, and it was very touching. I remember going into just like a small 1 or 2 room venue, and there was literally like one light on in the corner, and we were all bumping into things because we couldn't see anything. It was just completely dark, maybe a small light for the DJ. And back then, from what I remember, is the DJs would bring flashlights with them and kind of put the flashlights in their mouth, and you know, that's how they would see the records that they were DJing, or maybe have a headlamp or something like that. And just very raw, very dark, and it was really all about the music. The only thing that you could do is just focus on the music, and you didn't feel weird about dancing or anything like that because nobody could really see you, so you just kind of zoned out on what the DJ or the live act was doing, and it was very, very special. Some of my major influences, I would say, was maybe some Model 500 records and Rob Hood records for sure. And I think, you know, Rob Hood in his mixes, he would, you know, put in some of that basic channel sound and very tracky, you know, long tracks, and you know, building from one record to another, mixing for, you know, 3-4 minutes at a time, and making his own tracks with very simple structures. And I think that has carried on and influenced my sound up until now. For me, the Echo Chord album, at the time, I was getting a little bit annoyed by some of the other albums that I was hearing come out. It was mainly very conceptual, and I think at the time I just wanted to hear straight dance music. And you know, there's different strokes for different folks, and I think that you can be inspired by you know, very conceptual works. And at the time, you know, I think that in the future, you know, I might release some things that are more conceptual, very, you know, ambient bass or something like that. But at the time, I was really feeling a 4-to-the-floor kind of album. And I think that my concept for the album was to have, you know, a list of functional tracks that a DJ could really carry around that record in their bag and feel comfortable using at different times during their set, and you know, putting those tracks into a mix. And at the same time, I was doing a lot of field recordings at that time, and I think a lot of the background you'll hear a lot of different field recordings from campfires to waves to cityscapes and things like that. So that was definitely a lot of the inspiration behind that. So it was really taking the loosely conceptual based ambient works of maybe something that an artist would normally release as like 5 tracks of very conceptual, and then maybe 5 functional tracks, and then, you know, taking those ambient works and molding them into something that was functional for the floor. So. I think some of my earlier works were maybe more influenced by a dub sound, but I think deep labs, to me, you might still find some dub elements. I think anytime I really sit down and start writing a track, it doesn't really make sense to me until I have some of the deep chordy drones and stuff coming in. But I think for me, deep labs is more going to be a record that's associated with just moody and deep and Detroit kind of style sound, not necessarily any kind of one influence or genre. I think it's gonna span a lot of different ranges and hopefully to push an idea to me that is genreless. Yeah, so I feel the last couple tours or events that I've played in Europe, I have been mainly doing live sets, and I think that's just to present my own personal sound to people that maybe have never heard of me before. And I do miss DJing. I started DJing, I think, in 1997. I was in high school, and I saved money for my first Europe trip, actually, with one of my friends, and we were going to go to Greece for, I think, about a week and a half. And I saved and saved for about 6 months for this trip, and then I did something stupid and I walked into a Guitar Center, which back in Detroit is a place that has all your analog equipment for you know, drum machines and synthesizers and turntables, and I saw a pair of Techniques 1200s in there, and I decided to blow my savings for the trip on some turntables and started collecting records at that time. And to me, DJing is a very special art. And back in that time, when you went to the record store in Detroit, it was very elitist kind of attitude. So, and at the same time, I really respected that. And I didn't think that DJing was just for anybody, so I felt like I had to be worthy of calling myself a DJ. So I believe the first 2 records that I bought were from Definitive Records, and it was the 2 Dark Ages releases. And for maybe about 5 months, I didn't buy any other records besides those, and I learned how to match all those records from beginning to end. And then I felt worthy enough to go into the store and, you know, buy a few more catalogs and things like that, and tried to really work on my back catalog of M-Plant and some early classic Detroit stuff. And for me, yeah, DJing is still something that's very close to my heart, and I think in the future I'll definitely bring my vinyl out if I'm not too nervous about bringing some of that stuff out, but I definitely want to start to DJ more. But at the same time, live sets are a lot of fun because you can really do some tricks and things that you can't do with 2 turntables. So both of them have their time and place, I think. Playing in Hart Plaza is an exceptional experience. I think you're right in the heart of downtown, and you know, you can see the Renaissance building, you can see you know, all the core buildings of Detroit that really, I mean, when somebody thinks of Detroit, they think of a few iconic buildings that are down there. And you know, you're on the main stage, and you know, there's a sea of people in front of you, and you look around and you see that, you know, you're in the heart of the city, and it really means something. I think it's a very special experience. I think Culture Dox is a really great venue. The walls are black and there's not much lighting, so it really reminds me of some early Detroit parties, and it still feels like a big family. Everybody's forced to stick together and sweat together, and I think it makes for an amazing experience.